welcome to my channel. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Brittany, and in today's video I'm going to be opening up the last 6 months of 2024 in a new bullet journal. But before we do that, I would like to take you through the first 6 months of my bullet journal for 2024. And to do this, I'm just going to go through the opening spreads of my bullet journal. So for January, I did a countdown to the new year with a clock theme. I also, to the left of that, have my word of the year, which is limitless. For the month of February, I decided to do floating hearts. And because my husband and I got engaged in February, I decided to take this quote from the movie Leap Year and then have our wedding bands in the photo at the bottom left. And for the following month, March 2024, I decided to dedicate the spread to my heritage. And so I have German architecture on the left with a German philosopher quote, and then I have Pennsylvania Dutch art on the right. For the month of April, again, I wanted to dedicate my spread to all of the genealogy research that I had been doing on my family. So I did a family crest and quote for Scotland. And then moving into the month of May, I had started to make a good bit of goals for myself. So I did this cute little fun May spread from Mario Brothers. And a quote that says, "You never know if you don't reach for it," to kind of give myself a little bit of encouragement. And finally, for the month of June, I tapped into my family history a little bit more and did the blue willow chinaware that my great grandmother had. So that was what my theme was for the entire month of June. And now I want to move into a new bullet journal. And I have found that with dot grid bullet journals, I usually get 6 months out of them with about 10 to 20 pages left over. So I'm setting this one up very much like I did the other one with my beginning pages. And even though I did this with the last 6 months, I still had excess pages in the back. So we'll see what all I can add in between each of my months as I go along. But to do this, I always do a vision board right up front. I do the seasons with the year on the first page. Then I like to pick out some places that I want to go and do a spread for that, and then list out some goals that I want to reach within the next 6 months. I also like to track how much money I'm spending on postage because I write to a lot of people. I have a lot of pen pals. And then my husband and I like to keep track of our takeout spending because we want to reduce it. I have a nice reading log in here. 24 books in 2024 was my goal for that. I have some trackers for subscribers and followers on my YouTube and Instagram, and then I like to do what my next 6 themes are going to be for the next 6 months. And then I have my channel goals or plans to the right of that. And what I do for that is I just do some things that I want to learn. So for the start of my channel, I wanted to learn about video recording, and that's what my first 6 months really evolved around. It was things that I wanted to learn. So I wanted to learn how to splice videos, and I wanted to learn how to add music, and I did all of those goals. And actually this video is my last goal for the first 6 months, which is adding an introduction to my video clips. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's a new feature I hope to continue using moving forward. But then for the next 6 months, I want to get a little bit more creative with my video editing. So I'm going to do some more research and learning about how to add and edit for videos. And then to educate myself on this, I've been leaning towards basic Google searches or YouTube videos to kind of learn what everybody else does. And then I've also started on Skillshare, and this is not sponsored by any means. I'm not promoting or anything. I'm just letting you guys know what's working for me and how I'm coming along with that process. For the month of July, I've talked about it in a couple previous videos. I have considered taking the month of July off because there's just so much that goes on in July for my husband and I. We got married in July. both of our birthdays are in July. We have usually a summer vacation that we do in July. We haven't had a chance, well, I should say I haven't had a chance to plan something like that for us yet, but I do have a feeling we're probably going to go somewhere. I just, haven't put that much thought into it just yet. But this year, we're celebrating 15 years of marriage. And we've actually been together for 19 years, but we've been married for 15. So I wanted to have this cute little spread in my July bullet journal that kind of like counts down from years to months, weeks, days, seconds, things like that, and just kind of put my spin on it. So that is what I'm doing on the left of my opening spread. And then the items that I'm using to decorate are a little bit different than what I normally do in my bullet journal. And I did do a test page before I gathered these materials to do this video because I didn't want anything bleeding through my pages. Now, this bullet journal is from Notebook Therapy and their paper is 160 GSM. It is a very good paper as far as like bleed through or ghosting goes, but these markers that I'm using are a dual metallic marker. They're kind of like a paintbrush, and they actually don't bleed through at all, at least not in this notebook. So I wanted to give them a try because they have this beautiful sparkle and glimmer to them, and you guys know how I like my glitter. So the color for the 15-year wedding anniversary is ruby red, and wouldn't you know, that is the July birthstone, so it just makes perfect sense. And this Zool marker that I'm using is actually just straight red, but if you notice when you look at a ruby, contrastingly from a garnet, it has pink features to it. It's not like a true blood red color. Rubies have a little bit of pink. So this marker is actually working out very well because it has a pink tone to it. And then for the black, I wanted a wide or bold line, so I'm using a Posca paint pen or paint marker, and then I'm just using a fountain pen for the months, weeks, days portion of it. So the years and of marriage are done with the Posca pen, and then the rest of it is done with a fountain pen. And this fountain pen I got from Gell pens in Virginia, and they were selling it for like $5, I think I paid for it. I don't know if it's still available or not, but it is absolutely wonderful. It is a heavier pen, but I don't mind that. And then the ink that I have in that is the Pilot, I'm probably not going to pronounce it right. It's like Iroshizuku and the color Sumi. So like Sumi ink that you would use for Japanese lettering. And it is a really awesome ink. It's my favorite black ink, actually. But it comes in this really large jar, and the jar is actually pretty neatly shaped, if you ask me. But that's what I use for that. And then the gray that I have off to the left and right of the words of marriage, and then down at the bottom for the words and many more to go with an exclamation mark, is just the same dual metallic marker. So I used a Sakura Micron Archival ink pen to do the curtain on the right, and then I got the idea because the gift that's traditionally given for 15 years of marriage is crystal, and I found these gorgeous AB crystals hearts that I was just showing there, and that is what the whole spread is going to be featured around. Now that crystal, because it's an AB crystal, it's not a true one color or tone stone. It has pink, yellow, and green in it, and I wanted to find a way that I could have that same color throughout all the little hearts that I'm going to color in, but I don't have anything that's kind of changing like that. I do have one colored pencil that has multicolors in its tip or in its color, but it didn't pick up enough on this paper. I really wanted it to be bold. So I'm just going to go with the red, the gray, and the black as my color theme. And then I do have a like a dusty rose pink that I'm going to be using. It's a midliner, and I'm just going to do that for like a highlight. But as far as other colors go, I think I'm just going to keep it with the black, the red, and the gray. Now, I am putting some copy paper, some scrap copy paper between my pages, not because it'll bleed or anything like that, but because I'm trying to work quickly to get this done for you guys. So I'm not letting my pages dry before I move on. So that's just something that I'm doing to protect one page from bleeding onto another. And for this next spread, I'm just going to be setting up on the reverse of my opening spread page a music and movies list. And I do this every bullet journal spread. I don't think I've ever created a bullet journal spread without this for the month. And I've been doing this for 2 years now. So movies and music are something that I just really enjoy and love. So it always gets put in there. And then my little stamps that I use for my like my bullet dots to check off that I've seen them or heard them are starting to run out. So I'm going to have to find a place where I can get more of them. And I got my set from Stationery Pal. I know that there's probably several other stationery stores that sell them, but I can't even remember what they're called or the brand. So I'm going to have to go through my orders and see if I can find that information. But if I find it, I will put it in the description box for you guys so that you can find them easily if you're interested in incorporating those into your journals. And for my headings, I'm just going to use the gray and the red dual metallic paintbrushes or marker brushes. I'm not sure what they're called either. Then on the opposite side, I wanted to capture the faceted part of the crystal, so I'm kind of playing around with the shape of the heart and doing some line work around our zodiac sign. So that's what I'm going to be working on as soon as I finish this spread. But I want it to also look like it's dangling, so I'm going to have to add a feature in for that. But I've already started to listen to Alex Rainbird's July playlist that they put up earlier. And if you're new here, that is just my tradition. It's like my ritual and my practice. Every time I do a new bullet journal spread, I listen to their latest playlist. And if you were to have asked me a few years ago what genre of music I like, I probably would just tell you anything with a beat. With the exception of Gregorian chants. If you know what those are, they kind of make my ears want to bleed. But I used to be a music major, a music education major. So I can play multiple instruments, and I was in like every band and choir thing that my school offered. I did competitions, I traveled out of state. Well, not out of state, but across the state, I should say. And so music has always been a huge part of my life. And so I always listened to it. But it was a pen pal who introduced me to indie alternative music. And thanks to the songs that they sent me in a letter, I put those into YouTube to search them and hear them for the first time. And then YouTube was very nice and offered some suggestions, and that's how I discovered Alex Rainbird music. So again, I'm not promoting or anything like that. I'm just sharing my personal experience with you. And so here's a couple of songs that I already like from this new playlist. And then I thought that for this next spread, I would do something simple, but yet frame it. So that's what I'm attempting to do here with this gray marker. And why I say attempt, it's because I'm not going to go all the way around the page. I'm just going to kind of like create brackets around the center of the page, kind of like parentheses. And so it's going to be like a partial or open frame. But this spread is something that I wanted to do because It's not something I'm going to share on here because it's personal and it's going to be different for everybody who does it. But I wanted to kind of have a record of 15 things that I learned across 15 years of marriage. And like I said, it's personal, so I'm not going to share that. But I just thought that that would be something kind of nice to have in my bullet journal as something to look back on and just to remember. But to go around this little geometric or faceted heart, again, I'm just using that red brush marker. And I did go through my spreads for the entire month and pencil them in because I knew that there were going to be some parts that were tricky. And this heart is definitely one of those things. Now, I know that I do have a drawing series on my channel, and I do that in the moment. And this is kind of like pre planned here in my bullet journal. But to do this, how I get the lines so straight, I'm not doing this by hand like I do with my sketch and Sunday. That's all just on the fly in the moment. But how I do this is I find an image that is close to what I want, and then I put like a light, a book light underneath the page that I want it to be on, and then I put the image under the page but above the light, and then I just like rough sketch what I want from the image, and then I clean it up. I like take all that stuff away and then I clean it up and make it how I want it to be. So it's not a direct copy of the image and it's not a transfer. It's just like me taking what I want out of the picture. So I haven't found an easier way to do that. I mean, I could have made a sticker, I suppose, but I didn't. I just thought it would be easier if I just traced over what I wanted. And then to kind of give the impression of stars for this constellation for the Leo, I'm using a liquid chrome pen brush. And that I also got from Stationery Pal, but you do want to be careful because they do bleed through. So my recommendations for that would be to put some other type of medium down before you put that on your page. Now, you could do like a Posca paint, like a white or a cream, or you could put down some type of a mixed medium to kind of put a layer down on your paper before you use it. And I didn't do that just because I'm only putting dots down on the page for the stars of the constellation. But that's up to you. I'm just letting you know my experience is it bleeds through the pages pretty badly, especially if I were to like color something in with it. Yeah, it would come through the page pretty well. So for my weeks, what I'm doing here is I'm going to do the same thing for the entire month. And I decided to do that just because I wanted to get this up before July 1 for you guys. And I'm trying something new this month, and I'm not sure how it's going to work. So I kind of wanted to test it out before I bring it to you guys. And then, of course, if it works or something doesn't work, I'll let you guys know when I do the August bullet journal setup and I do the flip through of July before and just say, you know, this worked or this didn't work. But basically, what I'm thinking about doing is I've mentioned before how I like to follow Ryan Holiday or James Clear, and I should say, and I think it was James Clear, might have been Ryan, who said that, or they quoted somebody saying and shared it, that it's not your habits that you fail with, it's your systems. So, like, if you can't keep a habit that you're trying to start, it's not necessarily the habit you're trying to incorporate into your routine, but the system around it. And I got to thinking about that because I have been falling off with some of my journals. I think I mentioned that in a previous video when I was going through my quarter two review. That's what it was. And so to get back on track with that, I'm going to do what they suggest. And what the suggestion was to schedule it into your day. So, like, you're more successful at picking up a new habit if you say, at this time every day, I'm going to do ABC or XYZ. So that's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to use this weekly spread in my bullet journal to time block what I want to achieve. So I had mentioned about how I was going to use the collage notebook that I made on here with you guys in a previous video to do my wild writing exercises by Lori Wagner, where I take 15 minutes out of my day and just kind of do a brain dump session and write everything that's in my head down without the pen ever leaving the page. And I haven't been doing that really since I finished that class. And that's something that I'm a little disappointed in myself about because I felt so much better after I did it. And I knew immediately after I did it a couple times that it was something I wanted to continue, and I didn't do it. So I'm going to use this weekly spread to time block that into my day. And I don't know if it's going to be at the beginning, if it's going to be at the end of my day, maybe it'll be in the middle, but I'm going to make sure that it's in there. And then the same is true for my other journals. I will say that my Sketchin' Sundays is probably my most consistent journal, just because I film that for you guys. So it's kind of like an accountability thing where if I don't do it, then you guys don't get a video. And I don't really want to do that. So I want to create a system similar to that where it's every Sunday I do it. Well, this would be every day I do it at this time. And we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, I have better success with it. It makes sense to me. I mean, just thinking about it and reading the other things that he said, it makes sense to me. So we'll see. But to fill these in, I'm using a Sakura Pigma Micron #1 pen, and that's kind of like losing ink, and the tip or the nib is kind of getting pushed up into the metal barrel, so it's not really that visible. So I'm going to go over it with this black Posca paint marker, and that's just going to lift it up off the page a little bit better. But I really like how July starts on a Monday. That makes it so much easier to lay out these spreads. And then because I want my entire week on the page, or the spread I should say, I am going to combine Saturday and Sunday and just call it the weekend. Now, usually my weekends are pretty mellow. I do my Sketchin' Sundays video. I usually take Sunday off for church, and then Saturday, I'm usually doing loose ends around the house. So maybe I'll do a little laundry, or maybe I'll mow the lawn with the husband. But I don't think it's going to be a problem dedicating one column to both days. We'll see. I've done that before in the past, and it does get cramped sometimes when like I have a lot of classwork due on the weekends, but that's not the case for my current classes. Which, by the way, that's another update. I just told you guys a little bit ago about possibly taking July off, and I've decided I'm not going to take the month of July off. So I'll still have my Thursday content, and I'll still have my Sketchin' Sundays, and for the most part, nothing is going to change on this channel other than the updates that I provided in the somewhat schedule change in my quarter 2 review. So the other update is my schooling. I did decide to sign up for that other class that starts July 1 that I talked about previously. I don't see this being an issue for my content creation or my video schedule. I don't know when the assignments and due dates are going to be. Hopefully not on the weekend. But even if it is, I still don't think it'll be a problem with having both days in one column, just because my other class is due in the middle of the week. So there you have it. So then what I'm doing at the top here to kind of fill up this ribbon is I'm making this droop kind of like A decoration would be hanging from a ceiling, if you will, and I'm going to dangle some hearts down from it because the crystal hearts are meant to be hung. The ones that I purchased, they have this little string on them. You can see it in the upper left corner of the video. And they're going to be hung from the rearview mirror in our vehicles. I got one for him and one for me. And so I wanted to have them hanging here and there throughout my weekly spreads. So here you can see the little cord. And I don't know how many I'm going to put. I'll probably just sprinkle them here and there throughout this banner at the top. And then I think what I'm going to do, because I want them to kind of replicate the crystals, is I'm going to color them in with that red marker. And then I'll probably take this number 1 Micron Pigma pen and kind of do like a line work in the middle of the heart to draw in the facets of the crystal. And if you've noticed, at the bottom of each daily column, I did put like a, not a block because it's an open block if that's the case, but a blank space. Normally at the end of my day and my weeklies, you guys probably have noticed by now, I put my menu or what I'm going to be preparing for that day's dinner. And I'm not sure if I'm going to use this space for that or if I'm going to use it for maybe like a doodle or a sketch challenge. And then I might just put notes from the day. So what I've been doing on my Hobonichi Techo is I've been adding in little notes in an opposite color or a different color than what my main writing or journaling is in for something significant that happened that day. So, and I shouldn't say significant because it doesn't have to be significant. It could just be like an occurrence. So like if I went to see a movie, I might put that in there. Or if like a package that I was really excited about getting arrives, then I might note that in there. So I think that that would be a good spot for me to put that in. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. I actually got this idea for this spread off of Pinterest. So this is not my design, and I'm giving full credit to that artist on Pinterest. But I think that maybe the bottom square might be a good place for a quote, because you know how I collect quotes. So I was talking earlier about James Clear, for example, and Ryan Holiday. They sometimes have short quotes that they share on social media, and I think that they would fit very nicely in those boxes. And if anything else, it would give me something to think about for that day or be a nice record of something that I came across and wanted to implement. Like I said earlier about how I wanted to focus on changing or adjusting my current systems to ensure that my habits become more consistent or that I become better at adopting habits. So we'll see. They could also be a nice spot for goals. So if I wanted to learn something new with my video editing or take a Skillshare class um, for a specific week, I think that might be a good place too. I could put it in for Monday and then say I have the rest of the week to do it. So I'm just going to hurry up and pause this and fill in the rest of those weeks so that I'm not boring you guys with a bunch of jibber jabber. But here you see I filled them in. And now what I'm going to do is the mood tracker. And something I'm introducing this month for July 2024 is I want to get away from the word tracker and I want to start using the word log. And this is something actually that I've wanted to do in my bullet journals for a while now. I have it written down in my uh, lots of random notes that I have stacked everywhere. Soon to be organized into my commonplace journal. And I never implemented it. So this is a perfect example of something that I wanted to change, a habit that I wanted to change, and I haven't yet, and I'm going to do it this month. So I can check that off the list. But for my mood log, what I'm doing is, you guessed it, a faceted heart. And then in each of the facets of the heart is going to be the day of the month. And it took me a little bit of time to figure out exactly where each of these lines need to go to ensure that I have 30 of them. Or actually, there's 31 days in July. So I'm going to have to go back in here and add in an extra one because now that I'm looking at it, I'm actually one short. But I'm not too concerned about that because if you notice, some of these facets are kind of on the larger side, and I think it would be pretty easy to split one up, especially most likely this bottom one where day 30 is. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to split that, and then that's going to be my 31 or 31st day of July. And I haven't decided which colors I want to uh, color in each of the days for the moods. I think what I'm going to do though is try to pick colors close to the colors of the crystals that I bought. So probably pink, green, yellow, and then maybe purple. I don't know why. I don't really see purple in that crystal, but it kind of makes sense. I think it would go good with the rest of them. And then I'm just doing my own cursive lettering for mood log, only I'm kind of making the letters out of alignment. And I'm doing that purposefully to kind of fill up space, not spill, fill up space at the top, and also to give it a little bit of make it look like movement. So the crystal, if it's hanging in the rear view mirror of the car, it's going to move with the car as you travel. And so I think if I have the letters kind of dancing across the page, it'll give that impression of movement. And so I'm going to add some feelings or emotion words to describe my moods. And normally I do the same ones, but lately I've felt like those, happy, sad, mad, whatever, they weren't quite describing my moods. June was a really good month. Most of my little willow plates that I did for my mood tracker were all blue, which was fabulous. And blue was happy. So probably should have explained that first. But so for this month, I'm doing happy, anxious, upset, and sad because I don't really get mad, I wouldn't say. I don't really remember the last time I got mad. Frustrated, yes. But so I'm changing it to happy, anxious, which I experience quite a lot, and upset and sad. And upset's not really a mood or emotion that I would say really qualifies what I experience. I would say it's more like disappointment. I don't know. I'm still working on those words. Once I find ones that I feel describe my feelings much better, I'll definitely be sharing those and implementing them more consistently in my mood logs. And then I just did that frame, or that open frame that I did in that earlier spread. And this paint marker is still wet, so I'm going to put in some scrap printer paper just to protect my last week's page. So next I want to add in a spread for gratitude. And gratitude is something that I got away from when I took it out of my bullet journal and moved it into my Hobonichi weeks. And I think it was just because I wasn't reaching for that journal that much or as often as I would my bullet journal. So I put this back in my bullet journal. I don't remember if it was June or in May, but I'm really glad that I got it put back in my bullet journal because I have been so much more consistent with it. And June, like I said, was a really good month. So I have a nice record that I can look back on of all the things that I am so grateful for, all the blessings that I experienced, and just things in general that I want to remember. And again, for the lettering, I'm just doing my own cursive handwriting, and that is in the red dual metallic brush. And then I'm taking that 01 Sakura Micron Pigma pen to do the numbering of the days of the month. I think what I'm going to do here too to break up this page a little bit is take that Mildliner and just kind of shade in every other line. And I find that that not only breaks up the blank space or the negative space on the page, but it just makes things look a little bit more organized. So when you're writing your lines of gratitude, oftentimes It might look a little confusing with just the black and white text, or the black text on the white, I should say. You don't have white text. So if you have that little bit of shading, it makes it easier to ensure you're on the right numbered line. And that's especially useful if you get a day or two behind. But if you do it every day, it's not really an issue. So that's what I'm going to do here. Just going to do some shading, and then I'll be back. Ta-da! I did add in a gray shadow underneath the word gratitude with the gray dual metallic brush marker. Then for the reverse side on the right, I thought it would be really nice to have some type of a record for my birthday, since my birthday is in July and I am turning 38 this year. So I wanted to record 38 things that I have learned while I've been alive for 38 years. So that's what this is going to be. And originally I thought about doing 2 columns of lines where I would have the same that I did on the gratitude spread with the Mildliner shadowing. But then I thought that, if I did 2 columns, that wouldn't really be that much space for me to write. And then because there's 31 days or 38 lines that I would have to include, I couldn't even have 2 lines per item that I would be putting in. So I'm just leaving the page blank, and then I'm just going to scribble or write in my things that I learned anywhere. So this is kind of going to be like a brain dump, but it's going to take up the entire spread. And I don't even know if I'm going to stick with a black ink. I might do different pinks to write all these different things in. I might alternate between each item that I want to write in here. But again, I'm not going to share this because it's personal. It's going to be different for everybody. And I probably won't even share it whenever I flip in August. So just giving you a heads up, don't get disappointed. But that's something that I wanted to include. So for the next spread, I'm going to do my month in Polaroids. And usually I just do month in Polaroids across the top, but I wanted to have a little bit of similarity with my previous spreads. So I decided to take this roller stamp and do this little pattern on the edges. And I think that that just ties it together really nicely. So it's keeping with the red, black, gray theme, but it's just giving it a little bit more decoration quickly that I won't have to take up more time and draw. So I guess you could say that starting this bullet journal, I kind of got away from my usual sketching routine and kind of relied on stickers and stamps, but I needed to use up my stickers anyways, so and no harm done. And then I'm just adding in a gray shadow. So let's do a flip from the beginning, shall we? I'm just going to take out all of these little scrap pieces of paper and then we'll get to it. So to start off the month of July, we have our 15 years of marriage quote. And then we have our curtain of heart crystals on the opposite. For our following spread, we have our movies and our music list. We also have 15 things that I learned over 15 years of marriage. And then we have the same setup for all of our weeks. And I kind of like the uniformity of that. Then we have our mood log with our faceted heart. We have our gratitude and 38 things I've learned in 38 years alive, followed by our final spread, which is months in Polaroids.